Hey,
What you doing?
I'm Brandon Horwin,
And I'm Sophie Williams.
and today's special guest is.
My name is Arturo Porazzi. I'm the production stage manager of Come From Away. Currently on hiatus, given the COVID situation all over the world. But it's particularly hard on us on Broadway because we have not been working since March 12th. And we're probably not going to get back until May or June at this point in time. Anyway, that's who I am.
Great. Well, hello, everybody, again. It's great to have Arturo on today. We are thrilled to have him join us. Arturo and I met a few years back when I shadowed him at Come From Away. And then it would just be the funniest thing where we would end up running into each other because I spent a lot of time in the theater district by myself and with my parents and friends. And more times than not, I seem to run into Arturo, and it was always a pleasant surprise.
It's my campus.
So just to get started, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey going back and how you got into theater, because I know you were into theater in a different aspect before stage management, and then how you came to get to the craft that you practice now, stage management. So if you could just take us through exactly, your journey running through, theater.
Well, it started in high school. I was an actor in high school. Did about, I think, 4 plays in high school. And I really, really was enjoying it. I thought, this may be what I wanted to do. And so I went to Hofstra University to study acting. And I sort of made my way into the scene shop because I wanted to meet people. And I said, I can handle tools and I would like to get to know people and work on the different shows. And naturally, we also had requirements. We had to work, but I was actually forcing myself so I would meet people and take my classes. But I began to enjoy the work backstage much more than doing some of the acting stuff. I was having trouble with some of the acting classes, we do these exercises. I wanted to get into scenes. I wanted to act out scenes. But we do these exercises and, let's walk through a substance. And everybody would go, woo, 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 woo. And, what's today's substance? Oh, it's going to be cotton with chocolate. Oh, and everyone go, woo, 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 woo. And you're like, okay, no matter what material we pick, everyone's doing, woo, 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 blah, 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 and the acting teacher's going, oh, yes, oh, that's great, oh, that's smooth. And I'm like, what? You know, but I was enjoying the camaraderie of the crew coming together for putting a show on. And stage management was not taught back then. Stage management was a job that was given to willing students. Um, Basically, you assisted the director. The director say, do this, do that, do this, do that, and you would. There was nothing as we would teach now. You've got to really be organized, and you have to really communicate to everybody, and you have to, as I say, you have to anticipate all the problems that can happen. So that basically took me through college. I made a living. They hired me as a student aide, as they called it. So I was always working on the shows that we did. Had lots of experience. Lighting became a particular interest. I thought I would be a lighting designer. But back then, the lighting instruments, didn't change color. They didn't move, so you had to hang double for what you wanted to do. So I sort of lost interest in that. But stage management seemed like, oh, this is something I could really handle. Um, I left college, went into a summer stock, and then from there went into what we call winter stock. And that's where I met a gentleman who saw I was a TD and lighting designer at a theater in New Jersey. And he sort of took me under his wing. He saw my abilities as a stage manager, and following year, he got a Broadway show, and he took me on as first assistant. And that was my master class. It was my first show, Shenandoah on Broadway. We're talking 1974, 75. And as I said, that was my master class. I learned a lot about how to move scenery musically, and musicals became my forte, um, which has helped me in my event work as well, industrials, as we call it. So I just stuck with stage management. Anytime he got a job, I was his first assistant. We had a shorthand between us. He could wink. I go, oh, first aid kit, and he could smile and have a crooked smile. And I go, oh, you need a yellow pad. You know, it was a real shorthand, and I was able to anticipate and protect him as a good assistant would. And we went on to do what I think 8 Broadway shows together.
Wow.
About 8, and then he went his way to do another show, but we were still doing a show, and so I took it over. And that's when he went off to do City of Angels. I was still doing Me and My Girl, and so I came to PSL of Me and My Girl.
Wow.
And then after that, I think it was Jelly's Last Jam, which was my really first solo production stage manager job. That was okay. There's nobody above me, just me. So that's pretty much the background, and here I am with Come From Away.
Here you are indeed. That is a great, great recount of all the years of hard work and moving up the ranks to finally get there. But it just shows exactly how, from one connection, you guys seem to be a perfect pair together, and then we're able to continue that relationship, that work relationship
Well,
going
you
forward.
have to be willing to learn. I mean, I made mistakes along the way, and
Hmm.
you have to be willing to learn and swallow the mistakes and not make them again. You also have to learn how to. You also have to learn how to finesse people, and that was the biggest thing I was had going for me. It was understanding people don't work for you; they work with you, and you got to make sure that they know you want to work with them.
Right.
I can walk into a theater and people who know me, but they also know me as a person who works with them. It's not someone he's a production stage manager, be afraid of him. No, I'm asking them for their advice. They're asking me, well, how do you do it in rehearsal? I let them know we did it this way. Do you have a suggestion? I include them. Inclusiveness is very, very important.
Right. Excellent. That's great.
Okay.
So
I'll have
you've
a coffee.
already so you've already listed off a couple of really monumentous productions that you've been a part of. Uh,
Hmm.
which one would you say is your favorite that you've ever worked on?
My favorite is always the current one I'm doing.
Oh, really?
Yes, which has come from away on hiatus on Broadway. No, I'm very proud of all the shows I've done. I was proud of the work of on Shenandoah and the original 42nd Street in 1980. Proud of Memphis, Xanadu. Um, I was even proud of the work we did on the show that Angel, which only lasted a couple of weeks. There is a recording of Angel based on Look Home with Angel. If you can find it, it's actually a great little. Um, I said Memphis, Victor Victoria. I'm particularly proud of that. And Jelly's Last Jam, and Cheetah Rivera, The Dancer's Life
Hmm.
could not be more wonderful, and Come From Away.
Wow.
Well, that actually segues into my next question, being that I'm also repping Come From Away today,
I can see that.
but really, what has what kind of impact has Come From Away had? Because I don't know where did you pick up the production? Was it right from the beginning? And what kind of impact did it
This,
have?
this production was workshopped in Seattle, and there was an agreement between Seattle Rep and La Jolla Playhouse, and then it was done at La Jolla Playhouse. The stage manager for it there left to do another show on Broadway, and they were going to go to Seattle. So my director called me up because we had done Memphis and Xanadu together. That's Christopher Ashley. And I picked it up in Seattle, and we had a little hiatus, and we went to Washington, D.C. And then right after Washington, D.C., we got the word they were going to Broadway. And probably one of the biggest highlights of the journey was we got to do the show in Gander, Newfoundland, which is where the story takes place, and meet the people that we are talking about. So that was my journey. And we went to, after we did the Gander concert, we went to Toronto to finesse some more. And then from Toronto into Broadway.
Wow. And the rest is history. Now, how many years on Broadway is it?
Well, 3 years. You know, we opened on March 12th of 2017, and we had a stop on March 12th of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping to open on March 12th of 2021, but Broadway has been pushed back to May and June. So we'll see. Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. The cast is lovely, the crew is lovely. The people who come see the show are just bowled over by it. And I've only found a couple of people, some of them friends, who have not liked the show. When I reanalyze it, I realize I don't like them. So bit of self-realization.
That's a perfect discovery.
That's
There you
good.
go. There you go.
So you briefly mentioned that you worked on Victor Victoria, and this is
Yeah.
a more personal thing for me.
Oh,
Brandon has told me you have an excellent story with Julie Andrews. He has refused to tell it to me because he said I had to hear it firsthand. Would you mind retelling the story for me?
I don't know which story it would be.
Which one is it?
Well, I think there was one night that you guys both were doing a concert together. I can't remember where, if it was Lincoln Center or somewhere.
She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. I was doing an encores at City Center, and she was doing something in the building elsewhere. We were in technical rehearsals, and I was backstage at the stage manager council, and I was just checking in, doing all the stuff, headset, and these two hands come around me and caress me. They go, "Hello, Arturo." I go, "No." She came by to say hello to me. It was so much fun.
That is amazing.
Yeah, she's as I say, there's God, there's the Pope, and she's right in the middle.
That is literally the perfect description.
She's absolutely lovely. And Jenna, one Christmas, we all went on our day off. Sunday was our last show. We come back on Tuesday. Every single dressing room door had a wreath. And it was this huge Christmas tree in the common lobby just before you get onto the stage. And they had all these Radco glass blown ornaments. Beautiful, beautiful, and just dripping with all these ornaments. Julie had hired a company to come in and decorate everything backstage for us. And these Radco ornaments, which were like, $20, $25 a piece. She said, when we're done with the tree, take an ornament. So she was just that generous. Really true.
Incredible, really amazing.
Lovely lady. Can't say enough about her. What else?
Um, so I just wanted to ask a little bit about you. You kind of touched on this, but prior to this is sort of like a filled question. So prior to the COVID shutdown, during the COVID shutdown, how have you been able to continue to engage with the arts and kind of keep them alive? And also, the other part of that is I know that you teach at Wagner, so is that a portion of, or are you still teaching courses there? And how have you been able to continue to balance in normal times your professional life with an education
Well,
as well?
this is this is like a forced retirement for me. Um, it has been difficult because what we're used to, we can't do. I had to go to Zoom classes for my Wagner and Fairleigh Dickinson students of April and March, April and May. And that was difficult. I did not like doing that at all, not at all. And I swear I wouldn't do it again. So I'm looking forward. So far, our Wagner College right now is doing very well with COVID testing and the students maintaining good health. So one-on-one teaching is happening. You can have hybrid teaching, but one-on-one teaching is happening. So I'm looking forward to going back and being in the classroom with the students. I'm not teaching there this semester because I only teach in the spring because that's all they have. And but I mentor the students. Now, most of the mentoring has been by email um, to avoid going up to the campus because everyone has to be checked and verified and certified that you're not carrying disease and all that, as well it should be. So, and as far as dealing with any other work, there's been nothing really. I will say that Diana, the musical, which was in previews, they managed to do a workshop a la Zoom to finesse their script and their music. And then they went into the theater, went into a bubble. I believe it was in February. And no, excuse me, reverse. I believe it was in September. In September, and they basically shot it for Netflix for 2 weeks. At some point, they will show it, and they 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 sort of set a standard. Work can be done, and there has been work done a lot. In fact, there's a production right now happening a la Zoom. Elegies for Angels, Punks, and Raging Queens, a piece that was written by Bill Russell in 1989, I believe, about the AIDS crisis. He's put in some updated material given COVID. And I was PSM of that, helping organize the different Zoom rehearsals that have to happen and the recordings and all that. And they were going to edit this into a big streaming piece. But then I lost a brother of mine a few weeks ago, and I had to bow out of it.
So sorry to hear that.
But it shows it can be done a la Zoom, particularly when you have the right talent. They understand the material and they deliver the material. And then basically you are putting it together. I'm sure the editing is happening as we speak. They're looking to send that out, I think, on December 1st, which is World AIDS Day. So as far as how I've been coping, I've been doing what I like to do, getting creative. I had a lot of old wood from the fence, and so every day I'd make a birdhouse. And I take a bike ride. I work in the garden. I prune a tree. I fix things. I had the outside of my house painted, and just doing things to keep myself sane, uh, because I liked to go to work. I like the people I work with, and I like what we do for the audience. So that has been the best I can do coping. Of course, I do have a little vermouth and wine every now and then. Very good.
That's thank you for taking us through that because it certainly is powerful to hear an account of
Well,
where and
I went into students who still don't know Word or Excel on the computer, which sort of bothers me. And I'm saying to myself, you know, I'm not up on all this technology, and they need to be. I'm at the tail end of my career. They're just trying to get started, so they need to embrace this technology because they may be using it.
right,
All my event stuff, most of my event stuff is going online, streaming. There's no going to a convention center or a ballroom someplace. Getting the crew all in order and the executives. None of that's happening. That's all
right,
being done by the production houses in-house. They don't need the show callers because they're basically switching screens for speakers and stuff.
right.
So you've touched on this a little, but you say that potentially we can anticipate Broadway coming back May, June, that kind of time area. What
Mhm.
kind of changes do you see happening to Broadway during this time?
Well, I don't know how they're going to handle the audience. I think for us backstage, it's going to be easier. Those of us who are not seen will probably be having face shields and masks. Um, Cast, when they come off stage, will probably immediately put on a mask if they're off stage for any length of time. If they're going right back on, that's the only way I can see it. And everybody's probably going to be checked when they come in. It's a dicey proposition because there's a lot of investment to make it all happen. And just like with the schools, they open up, and then someone gets an infection, they have to shut down.
Right.
That's going to get very expensive on Broadway.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to be implemented, but we'll see. Getting
Great.
brief. Yeah. Excuse me.
You sort of touched on this with current students and embracing the world we live in terms of technology and advancing forward. But what other advice do you have for current students or rising industry professionals who want to make a break into this world that's currently shut down momentarily, but will be open soon in the hopes that they can build their career in it as
Well,
well?
again, the networking is very, very important. You know, there's people I call when I have certain jobs because they're in my network. I know how they work. I know they may be right for this job or not right for a job. Networking is important. Knowing who people are is important. When you have a program from a Broadway show and you like the lighting, you like this, look up the person, see what they've done before. Maybe you said, oh my God, same person that did the lighting on such and such a show. I didn't know that. Get to know who they are. I mean, God knows how many times I've, during the Tony Awards rehearsals, I remember once visiting, my wife was working on it, and I went to visit, and I'm by the stage manager's area out in the house of Radio City. And I hear over the walkie talkie, there's a gentleman out here who says his name is Hal Prince. Are we expecting him? And I looked at the production stage manager and I go like, they don't know who Hal Prince is. Oh my. Yes, exactly. Um, so you got to know who these people are. And I never thought I'd be working with a Jules Fisher lighting designer or Howell Binkley. Actually, Jules Fisher called me last night for my birthday. Yes, yesterday was my birthday. He called me.
Happy belated birthday.
Yes. And, you know, get to know who these people are because you may be working with them if you are lucky. And that's when you really learn. Um, I think that's the most rewarding thing. The professionals I have gotten to work with, I get to pinch myself and say, yeah, this is where I wanted to be. You know, it would have been an embarrassment had I, when we were doing Cheetah Rivera, the Dancer's Life, if I didn't know who Terrence McNally was or Graciela Danielle. Everybody knows Cheetah Rivera. Uh, Networking, knowing who people are, who are the big influencers in the business, and try to follow through and being a part of whatever you can be a part. You know, a production assistant on a show usually is a great in. You get to meet people and people get to know your work. And don't be in a hurry to come to Broadway. It's going to be here. It hasn't left us yet. Um, there's a lot of theater out of town, theater in DC, North Carolina, Seattle, California, Washington State. There's theater all over, and students can go there and hone their talents. I think that's the best advice I can give.
It's great advice. It truly is.
Sorry.
Great. Well, Sophie, do you want to take
Wandering cat.
do you want
Cat just stopped and looked at me like, what the hell are you doing here? My patio. Away. Okay.
So, I mean, I really love doing this podcast just because I love talking to industry professionals and hearing their great stories. What do you think your greatest Broadway story is?
Oh, there's a story or two or three or six from any show that you do. From any show. We did a show called Daddy Goodness. We did a show called Daddy Goodness many years ago. I was at like around 79. We played Philadelphia and we played Washington, D.C. Our marquee was up at the Winter Garden Theater, but we closed out of town. It was actually one of the first shows Motown had ever invested in, pretty much a Black musical. But there was a gospel choir in this musical, and this gospel choir was quite wild. Fabulous, fabulous talent in the show. But the problem was a couple of the women, their wigs would get so out of whack. Well, the wig master was complaining and said, it takes me too long to put all these wigs back together again at the end of the night to get them ready for the next show. Well, he took these wigs for a couple of the women who would be good. Basically, and even with the elastic on them, they would end up off because they were dancing so wildly. So what he did was he shellacked a couple of the wigs. And the interesting, because it really didn't flow with the air, this one night, two of them broke off from their elastic and literally bounced across the stage like football helmets into the pit. Yes, the show never came, but that was a good show. Ted Ross was a star. Frida Payne was a star in it. Rod Perry of television fame was in that.
That's a great story.
Another story is 42nd Street. The symbol of 42nd Street, you know, with the curtain, and we see the fringe of the house curtain and the feet dancing underneath. That came from Macon queuing. We were in Washington, D.C. at the Opera House at the Kennedy Center. And back then, the Opera House curtain was so heavy that it took 5 men 4 to pull on one end and 1 to pull up from the floor shiv. And then he became the counterweight to slow it up. Okay? So this one performance, during the note session, production stage manager was told to take the curtain 8 counts later. So here we are, music's playing. I'm standing by the crew, ready to tap their backs so that they know they can go, because they were all hunched over, they can't see me. So I have to tap them on the back and they would go. I get the cue. Curtain, go. Slap. No, wait. And the curtain started and then just stopped about 18 inches off the floor. And all the kids are dancing and you only see their feet. Then I get the cue, now take the curtain. And then we took the curtain the rest of the way out. So, of course, at that moment when the crew turned around at me, I thought they were going to throw me into the Potomac. But after the performance, David Merrick came to our production stage manager and said, "Can you do that every night?" And he said, "Well, only if we rehearse it." You know, because that was not a rehearsed moment. And so that became the symbol of 42nd Street.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
That
I never
is
knew how that
amazing.
started. That's iconic.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Well, this has been a great interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joining us. And is there anything else that we left out? This has been a great, that you wanted to touch upon?
What I want to touch upon is if this podcast is for all, it's not just for stage managers, it's for producers, director types. Yeah, I think the most important thing is get to know each other. You might be collaborating with each other in the future. Again, as I always say, be organized, communicate, anticipate those 2 things aren't going to work, and be kind to yourself.
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's been a true honor, and this has just been a great.
I'll go on, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Great interview.
Yep. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.